Well, good afternoon, Jordyn Kreshover,
Hi,
introducing you to
Mikey.
the Lead Better audience. Welcome for the first time. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so today's field note is numbered 1728. It is titled, When It Comes to Financial Rewards, Cash Isn't Always King. This is the 252nd consecutive time we've done a conversation like this in this format, and I'm glad you're here for this one. So,
Awesome.
how does the title strike you? What's your immediate thought when it comes to financial rewards? Special thing that someone does in the office, they need to be recognized in a certain kind of way. We should probably give them a bonus. Maybe not. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to that cash rewards, at least in my mind, and I think in many of my colleagues' minds, are universal, right? They work for everyone. Anyone is going to appreciate cash. And I think cash is often tied to annual cycles, right?
Hmm.
You get a year-end bonus, you get an annual salary increase. Maybe that happens on a more regular basis that I'm calling out. But the idea is if I don't give you cash, that means I actually have to know you. I need to know something about you and what matters to you. And then based on that, be able to give you that special thing, experience, exposure, whatever it is, based on something that you've done really well. And that's what
Right.
makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. So I read one study that said that when asking employees their opinion on a reward that might come up in a situation like this, that the vast majority of people will say they want cash. So
Yeah,
for us to provide an alternative is actually tapping into something that an employee might not even recognize that they want, right? Because the
totally.
default is just to say yes to cash immediately. And so it
Yeah,
takes a thoughtful, more sophisticated leader to actually maybe ignore a little bit of what the person says or how they might answer a survey and actually get into what it is that may be intentionally different. What do you think about that?
totally. I mean, Mikey, I don't want anyone to take away from this conversation that compensation doesn't matter. Of course it does.
Right.
Compensation is how we live our lives and it's highly important to people. I think this conversation can go to how are you broadening your motivational toolkit as a leader so when cash is tight or when that's not necessarily an option that you can give to people, that you have some other things within your toolbox to be able to say, you did a really great job on this or you deserve this special thing and be able to give that to them to reward them for whatever they've done.
Yeah. Have you ever had this done to you in this kind of way that's especially memorable for you?
I have,
What
yeah,
what's the
and
story?
and it was great. I had been working with a company for a couple years, and I had done something, that I thought was very well done. I had led this RFP and this presentation, and we ended up winning the business, and through that, I got a special experience. I got to go on this development opportunity that not many get to do. I learned different things that not many get to learn, and through that,
Mhm.
I also got to meet people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And that created a network for myself that I was able to tap into over the years and learn from and get a lot of great exposure from. So through
Yeah.
that, again, it wasn't we're going to give you this monetary reward because you were able to help us secure this business. It actually was we're going to give you this special experience that not only allows you to continue to grow in your career, it gives you maybe some time off from the day-to-day grind and hustle, but it also helps you longer term because now I have these people and this community that I can now talk to on a regular basis and get a lot of motivation and inspiration from that as well.
Right. Now, when they were presenting this to you, was it after the fact? Did you know that it was, or was it dangled as an incentive before it was actually
No,
finished?
no, it was not dangled as an incentive. I mean, I don't think I was expecting anything, and that's what made
Mhm.
it really special, was that it came somewhat as a surprise to me to say, "Hey, you did this, and because it was so great, we're gonna now allow you to do this other thing that's gonna help continue to fulfill that cup and give you purpose in the work." And I think that's what makes it really special. Again, it's not that it was on this annual cycle, it's not that I was expecting that call, it actually surprised me, and that's what made it super special.
Right. Okay. And so the surprise of it, I wonder, did the surprise of it make it future intrinsic motivation for you in a weird way that you almost can't explain?
Of course. Yeah. I
And just
mean,
okay, so now I'm going to ask you to explain it.
yeah.
Like why is it that that happened? What's going on there, do you think?
Well, I think if you think about expectancy theory, right, and a lot of the research that's been done there is when you're not expecting something to happen and it does, it ends up, you're happy about it. It was
Right.
great. If your expectations are low and it's like, I'm just going to continue with my day to day and now, work on this project. But then I'm given something that goes well beyond that, and I'm actually given this special opportunity. I'm going to be more pleased and happier than I would have been should that not have happened. But at the
Yeah.
same time, if I'm expecting something, right, as an employee for doing this and I don't get it, I'm going to remember that, and that's going to dig at me, I think, far worse than if I got nothing than if I got nothing at all.
Right. Now I'm the kind of person who's paid in compliments. Like if I could eat compliments, and my family could eat compliments, then I'd be fine for life, right? To be able
Mikey
to
likes
just work.
compliments.
Oh my goodness. I just am motivated by them in a strange way. But there was one time at a former job where a boss said to me, we were working on a project, and he said, if we land this, he had previously, like the week before, like made fun of the shoes that I was wearing to the office. And he said, I'm gonna buy you a new pair of shoes. And the type of shoes that he wanted me to wear because of yada yada yada, right? But I really only had this one pair of dress shoes. I did land it. He remembered. He took me to the shoe store. He got me the nicest pair of shoes that I've ever had. This that I still have. They're fantastic. But the fact that he recognized me in that way, remembered, followed through on that, like it weirdly became this deeply ingrained kind of loyalty thing for me as well, right? Every time
Yeah.
I put on those shoes, I now think of him. Every time I put on those shoes, I think of like the sense of pride that I had in accomplishing that project as well. Like that pair of shoes went a lot further than the unknown thing that I would have bought with the cash if it was that kind of a reward. And
Yeah.
so it does it often. So Goodyear did a study. I don't know if you saw this in some of the reading that you were doing, but Goodyear did a study that actually presented. Let me look if I can pull this up here. 46% of stores in a head-to-head competition between non-cash and
Mhm.
cash incentive programs, 46% outsold the cash incentives. So achieving like a 35% more ROI and a negative 20% ROI for the cash program. So
Mhm.
something about, and I didn't read it deep enough to know like what were the actual
I'm
non-cash
curious.
incentives, but
Yeah.
it seems to the like the people who do scholarly studies on this stuff, even at like a base retail level of people who have like sales goals to accomplish, people for whatever reason seem to work harder for the non-cash stuff. And again, to your point, we're not recommending that people aren't fairly compensated. That compensation is not in the key. I think where it
Exactly.
really works is probably that compensation is not something that people are worrying about. Then on top of that, people really seem to like perform well on these
Yeah.
non-cash incentive programs.
Totally, and I would love to know what those non-cash incentives are so we can all put those
Yeah,
in our back pocket as well. But I think the key across non-financial awards is that you actually have to know someone, right? So if I get you tickets for a concert and you don't actually like music, it's meaningless.
yeah,
Exposure is really only valuable if that person is ambitious, if they want that exposure, if they want to get ahead, if they want those connections. So I think
right,
the key is as a leader, it's saying, I know you and I've paid attention and I'm now giving you this thing that is going to please you in a way that may financial rewards maybe may not, or goes above and beyond maybe what money can pay for. Like those
right,
special experiences of being able to meet someone that you wouldn't have met otherwise, or being able to be in a room in a conversation that you've never been part of before. Those go a long way in motivating people to say, I'm now able to achieve my goals and get to the next level. But it's also something they remember because it's not something that they would have been able to do otherwise, whether they had the money or not.
right. So it brings up a question that was asked in chat earlier.
Yeah.
Do you suggest offering a list of options for a specific achieved result? And something that you said lets me think that you probably shouldn't make
I
this a
don't
list.
No, I don't think so. Because again, I think it goes back to the leader knowing their employee.
Yeah,
And I know you well enough that I know what's gonna matter to you, and this is going to be a surprise, right? It's not something that you're expecting. We're not logging you onto a website and saying, "You can now pick a piece of swag that you most
right,
want." It's the fact of saying that you've done this amazing thing. We're now going to give you some sort of reward or award that allows you
right,
to feel good and motivated to continue forward.
right.
And
And for
because of
some
that,
people like me, just the recognition would be enough, right? Just publicly
yeah,
saying, this is what Mikey did is like going to make me glow for months and months and months. Like that would
if
work for
that,
me.
yes, if that is what matters to you, right? There's some
Right.
people that hate public recognition. And in this
Yeah.
case, as a leader, don't put that person on a pedestal and call them out on a team call with hundreds of people on it. Don't usher them up to the front of the stage to accept an award. What actually may be better is some sort of private message to their family, right? To let
Yes.
them know that they truly made a difference in the company, or that special experience where they get to now take off for a day and go do a tour of one of your facilities with their kids and wear the hard hats and walk around in the goggles and the uniform. That may be more special for them than this public recognition in front of all
Yes.
their colleagues.
No, you bring up a great point. Another question that came up in the chat is that Josh says, we love the small gestures. One of my favorite things is funding a date night for a team member and their spouse or a partner at a nice restaurant. And that goes right to what you were saying. I think the reason that that probably really works well for Josh is because you're making their loved ones, uh, you're making your team member look important in front of their loved ones, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And that gesture is the thing that they couldn't provide otherwise. And so there's so many things that leaders have access to opportunities to make
Hmm.
their team members have that kind of thing happen to them in a way that's like, I don't know why I got this, but my wife thinks that I'm the best now, right? Because of what you provided for me. I couldn't unlock
Exactly.
that for myself. And oftentimes, for some leaders, those things are completely free. It's just a matter of turning a key that they've never used before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
What's going to
so
carry weight in this person's eyes?
right,
And that's
right.
different for everyone. And you got to
Oh,
pay attention and you got to know the person. And it needs to be personal enough that it shows that you're listening and
yeah.
that you know what matters to them.
So what's the key here? If I'm a leader and I haven't been doing this, but now my eyes are open to all these great ways that I can motivate and inspire people just by, thinking my first step is to do what in order to make sure that I start, because I'm not thinking of these things regularly. So how do I start to kind of take advantage of these opportunities as they come?
Yeah.
What do I do? What's
Yeah.
my first step here?
As a leader, I think the question to ask is, are you a master of spontaneous rewards? And to be able to do that, I think you need to ask yourself, do I know my team well enough to know what would be personal enough for them to feel special and recognized? I think
Right.
second is time matters, right? If you're giving these out every single week, it's not as special, right? It
Yes.
needs to have some sort of spontaneous nature to it, so it doesn't
Hmm.
feel like every time I send this email or get a new piece of business, they're gonna send me a bottle of champagne at this dinner and I'm gonna get it, right?
Yeah.
Because people are always going to remember the rewards that they didn't get. So I think as a leader, you need to be very intentional around how frequent am I giving these? What's the timing behind it? And what is the caliber in which I'm rewarding? So that way you don't start to create that sense of every time someone does something, they're going to expect something from you in return.
Right. No, there's another study that you're referencing without even knowing that you're referencing. UCF Stars says that while infrequent non-cash rewards are effective, frequent hedonic non-cash rewards like a small gift card or a box of chocolate or something that's repetitive in the way that you've been talking about can actually reduce work quality
Totally.
over time as workers become
Yeah.
satiated and habituated to it,
Yeah,
right?
I
And
mean,
so,
it needs to be special, right? I mean,
yeah,
if you get a box of chocolate, it's like, great, that's awesome, right? But how can you go above and beyond and say, I got you your favorite chocolate, one that I got from across the world, and you're not going to be able to go to your local
yeah.
CVS or grocery store to be able to get. Now that
And there's
sends
a
a
difference.
message.
Most leaders would be like, I'm going to get a more expensive box of chocolate instead of what you just said. I'm getting your favorite, right?
Hmm.
Because now the responsibility is on the leader to understand what their favorite is
Yep,
uh, in the moment, right? So unless you're tracking your employees for stuff like this, you're not going to know where to connect the dots when the opportunity comes up for you. So it brings
exactly.
up the idea of like how to track people properly that you're working with so that you can really execute on this well. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This was a good conversation. And I love how behavioral, oftentimes when we talk about field notes, we don't get into like the really nitty gritty behavioral aspects of things. And there's 2 or 3 things in here that
Yeah.
were really right on that.
I think this is something any leader can take and immediately apply. And again,
Yeah,
it's about knowing your team. It's about figuring out what is the caliber of what you're going to reward. And then it's about doing it and making people feel special because that's what's going to motivate them over the long term and make them want to not only work for you, but stay with the organization and do even more.
great. Thank you. Loved this conversation. Let's get you back on in a couple weeks here.
Love it. Thanks, Mikey.
All right. See you later.